Job was a good man. He was known for his unwavering faith and righteousness. He lived a life pleasing to God, always striving to do what was right and just in the eyes of the Lord. Job was not only a man of faith, but also a man of great fortune. He was wealthy and had a large family. His life was filled with blessings, and he was truly prosperous. But then, tragedy struck. In a series of devastating events, Job lost everything: his wealth, his children, even his health. His once abundant life was reduced to ruins. He was left with nothing but pain and suffering. His body was covered in sores, and his heart was heavy with grief. Despite his unimaginable suffering, Job remained faithful to God. He continued to pray and seek solace in his faith. He refused to curse him or turn away from him. Job's faith was unshakable, even in the face of overwhelming adversity. He knew that God was still in control, even though he could not understand why these things were happening to him. Job's trust in God's wisdom and sovereignty never wavered. Job's story is a powerful reminder that even good people suffer. It teaches us that suffering is not always a result of wrongdoing. Life can be unfair, and bad things can happen to anyone regardless of their righteousness or faith. But even in the midst of suffering, we can hold on to our faith in God. Job's unwavering faith serves as an inspiration to us all. He is always with us, even when we don't understand his ways. God's presence is a constant source of comfort and strength. Job's story encourages us to trust in God's goodness, even when life seems dark and hopeless. It reminds us that our faith can sustain us through the toughest of times. He is a God of compassion and love, and he will never leave us nor forsake us. Job's enduring faith and trust in God are a testament to the power of unwavering belief and the strength it can provide in the face of life's greatest challenges. Job's suffering was immense. His trials were unlike anything most of us could ever imagine. His body was covered in painful sores, and he was constantly in agony. Every moment was a struggle, every breath a reminder of his affliction. In chapter 3 of the book of Job, we see the depths of his despair. The barren landscape around him mirrored the desolation he felt within. He cursed the day he was born and longed for death. His cries were not just of pain, but of a soul searching for meaning in his suffering. Why did I not perish at birth and die as I came from the womb? Job cried out in anguish. Job 3:11. His words echoed the torment of a man who felt utterly forsaken. His pain was so great that he wished he had never been born. The weight of his suffering pressed down on him, making every moment unbearable. He felt that life had become unbearable. The isolation and the relentless pain made him question the very purpose of his existence. Job's words in this chapter are raw and honest. They are a testament to the human condition, to the depths of despair that one can reach. He did not hold back his emotions from God. In his anguish, he laid bare his soul, seeking answers, seeking solace. He poured out his heart to him, expressing the depths of his despair. His tears were a language of their own, speaking of a pain too deep for words. This chapter reminds us that it is okay to grieve and lament during times of suffering. It is a natural response to the trials we face. We don't have to pretend to be strong or hide our pain from God. Our vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, but of our humanity. He can handle our honesty and our tears. In our darkest moments, he is there, listening, understanding. Even when we question God, we can still turn to him in prayer. Our doubts and fears do not drive him away. They draw him closer. He is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. In the midst of our suffering, he remains our steadfast anchor, our source of hope and comfort. The story of Job teaches us that even in the darkest times, there is a light that can guide us through. It is a reminder that we are never truly alone. Our faith, our prayers, and our honest cries to God are the beacons that lead us out of the darkness. They are the threads that connect us to the divine, even when all seems lost. So let us remember Job's story. Let us find strength in his words and solace in his journey. For in our own times of trial, we too can find hope and healing. The darkness may descend, but it is never the end. There is always a dawn, always a new beginning waiting to unfold. Despite the intensity of his pain, Job never cursed God. He never blamed God for his suffering. This is a testament to the depth of his faith. Even though he questioned God's justice, he never doubted God's existence or his love. He knew that God was still God, even in the midst of his pain. This is a powerful lesson for us. In the midst of our own suffering, it is tempting to become bitter and angry with God. But Job's example reminds us that even when we don't understand, we can still trust in God's goodness and love. Section 4. A plea for understanding. Throughout his ordeal, Job longed to understand why he was suffering. He cried out to God, asking for an explanation. He wanted to plead his case before God, believing that if only God knew the depths of his righteousness, he would surely relent. Job's desire to speak with God reflects a deep longing for connection with the divine. He yearned to understand the reason for his pain, to find meaning in his suffering. This desire for understanding is something many of us can relate to. When we face trials, we naturally seek explanations and reasons. Section 5. The voice from the whirlwind. God did eventually answer Job, not with a direct explanation for his suffering, but with a display of his awesome power and wisdom. This response was not what Job had anticipated. He had hoped for a clear reason, a justification for the immense pain and loss he had endured. Instead, he was met with a profound revelation of the divine nature. In Job chapter 38, verses 1 to 4, God speaks from a whirlwind asking Job, "Who is this that darkens my counsel with words without knowledge?" This question was not just a rebuke, but an invitation for Job to see beyond his limited perspective. "Brace yourself like a man, I will question you, and you shall answer me." These words were a challenge, a call for Job to prepare himself for a deeper understanding. Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? This question was a reminder of the vastness of God's creation, a creation that Job had no part in forming. Tell me if you understand. This was not just a question, but a prompt for Job to reflect on his own limitations. God's response did not provide the answers Job was looking for. Instead, it highlighted the gap between divine wisdom and human understanding. Instead, it reminded Job of the vastness of God's creation and the limitations of human understanding. The world is filled with mysteries and wonders that are beyond human comprehension. God, in essence, was saying, "My ways are higher than your ways, and my thoughts are higher than your thoughts." This was a call for humility, a reminder that there are things beyond our grasp. Job's story reminds us that we may not always receive the answers we seek in this life. Life is filled with uncertainties and challenges that often leave us questioning. But even in the absence of explanations, we can choose to trust in the one who holds all things together. Trusting in God's wisdom and sovereignty can bring peace, even when we don't understand the reasons behind our suffering. Job's journey teaches us about faith, resilience, and the importance of maintaining our trust in the divine, even when faced with life's greatest trials. If you found this video insightful, please like, share, comment, and subscribe for more content. Your support helps us continue to bring you meaningful stories and reflections.